and welcome to On the Kerbs. I'm your host, Team Hours Daily. Joining me this week is the founder of the Formula Woman competition, Graeme Glew. We caught up recently to chat about why he wanted to create the competition to begin with, some fun stories from his time in Formula One, the biggest challenge in running such a competition, and much more. So without any more further ado, let's get straight into it, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Hi Graeme, thank you for being here today. First of all, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, busy as always, trying to get prepared for the finals.
Yeah, it's not long now. We've got the final 50 plus, so it won't be too long.
Well, actually, it was going to be in the middle of January. In fact, it was going to be 19th and 20th of January, I think, and we postponed it for many reasons. One being the world as it is at the moment, and the fact that we've got all these people coming from overseas. So we're now March the 2nd and 3rd.
It's not too far off though. It's still beginning of the year, and it shouldn't be able to get everyone over by that point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we've done it so far. I mean, we've had a lot of people that have actually come over to the UK for assessments from as far afield as India and Canada. So we've done it during the height of the pandemic. So let's do it as we hopefully, fingers crossed, come out of the pandemic.
Should be smooth from there out then. Shouldn't have said that, but
I'm an optimist. Ever the optimist, me.
I can agree with that one. I'm definitely the same. So First question, going back a bit, what first got you interested in motorsport?
Oh, well, my father had a garage, and I grew up in the motor trade, and he had a piece of land at the back of the garage where he used to let me go thrashing around in an old banger. And then I decided I was going to design and build my own racing car, which is what I did. And I raced that car. It was a Formula Ford. It wasn't very competitive, but it taught me a lot about motorsport, basically designing and building a car. And interestingly, I've just read Adrian Newey's book, How to Build a Racing Car.
Oh yeah, agreed.
And he's a similar era from me, and except he built a better racing car than me and ended up with a better job than me. But I take my hat off to that guy, incredible guy. But no, sorry. So then what I did was I started racing. I had a Hawk and then a Lola. I then what did I do then? I then set up the racing school at Cadwell Park, and I ran the racing school for 10 years. So that was good. And then after that, I ended up looking after doing some driver management, looking after a young driver called Oliver Gavin. And then from there on, went to work in Formula One with Arrows and Eddie Jordan and McLaren and people like that. And then in 2004, set up Formula Woman. And after that...
What made you want to decide to... I mean, there's so much I could go into there, which I might do in a second, but why did you decide to create the Formula Woman competition?
Because at the racing school, a lot of people who came to the racing school kept saying to me, how come there isn't any women in this sport? And I said, well, do you know what? I don't really know. So we started to offer women's courses, and then I went along to the TV people. It was ITV at the time. And I said, look, I've got this concept. What do you think? And they said, love the idea. Then went to Mazda. In fact, we went to 3 manufacturers, but we chose Mazda in the end. Mazda loved the idea, and the rest is history. So we set up a 16 driver championship. And I think at the time we had probably about 10,000 applications, which is phenomenal at the time. And that was all, mind you, that was done through Mazda and the sponsors and television. And there was a big PR push behind the whole thing.
Still quite difficult narrowing that down from 10,000 to the final people.
But it was actually, that was a big challenge. And we didn't have things like GoPros or anything. So it was a question of looking at the TV footage that we'd acquired at each of the assessments and saying, well, she's good. In fact, what we did, in all fairness, was we eliminated the drivers on each assessment day And then eventually we went through what we had and got it down to, I think, 100, and then down to 50. And then the 50, we did a shootout at Cadwell Park, and ended up with 16 drivers. And the champion, the winner of the championship, was Natasha Furman.
That was it. I was trying to think of the name there. I knew it was Ralph Furman's sister. I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, Ralph's sister. That's right. Yeah. So she won the championship. And she's been doing a little bit of instructing with us. She's an ambassador of Formula Woman, as is Vicky Butler Henderson, who also started with me back in the old days in a Formula First. And then the other ambassador that we have is Mia Flewitt, who races in McLaren.
Oh yeah, of course.
Mia's involved with McLaren. So yeah, I mean, it's we've got some great people, and we've got a surprise. Well, hopefully we haven't done the deal yet. We've got a celebrity judge coming on board, so that should be a big story once we've announced that person.
I'm looking forward to finding out who that is. But obviously, there's been quite a big gap between the first competition and this one. Was there any reason that you decided to do it again now, or why was there such a big gap in between the two?
Well, only because the first competition, we did run a second competition using Caterhams the year after. And then after that, we ended up, I sold the business. And the guy who bought it, ran it for another year. And then it just kind of fizzled out. But a lot of people kept saying, you really ought to think about doing Formula Woman again. It's got so much potential. My business partner, he said, why don't we do something? Why don't we test the market? So we launched the Expression of Interest website. And through social media. And that's when I recognized how big and how powerful social media really is, because we just got lots and lots of inquiries. So then we said, right, let's do it. Let's launch it in January of last year. And then we started to get applications in, not just from the UK, but from all over the world.
So then, I mean, I'd have to go back slightly to one of the answers from the previous question as well, just because the listeners would want to know about it. But is there a fun story you could tell from your time when you were working in F1?
I've got lots of interesting stories I could tell you in Formula One. It's just the one, I'm not quite sure which are the ones I can repeat. But it was an interesting period for me, because I was involved in the marketing, and of course you always get, just randomly, you always get a lot of celebrities going to Formula One Grand Prix. So there's a few people that I've bumped into that are pretty well known. One in particular was a guy that was coming out the Paddock Club as I was going in, and we crashed into each other, and I ended up on the floor. But his name was Sylvester Stallone. So he's a big guy, and he just about flattened me. So that's my claim to fame. Sylvester Stallone flattened me at Monza. Little things like that. People say I should write a book. Maybe I will write a book one day. Who knows?
So it's all sorts in the F1 paddock. Never quite know who's going to turn up.
Well, there's another good story, actually. Before Niki Lauda became involved with Mercedes, again, it was Monza. And I didn't really know Niki Lauda very well, but he'd come along to some of the Grand Prix, and he stood outside the paddock, and he said, Graeme, he said, I haven't got a pass. He said, can you help get me into the paddock? So I said, I had all these passes with me because I was looking after guests. So I said, yeah. So gave him a pass and got him into the paddock, and he went to see Bernie and got his official pass. So yeah, that was my first and only encounter with the famous Niki Lauda.
So are there any plans for more Formula Women competitions in the future?
Yeah, we're already planning, actually. We want to introduce a competition for 22-23. We've got something that we're planning to do on a global scale as well. India want to do something because they're one of our franchises, and there's also something going on in North America. So there's a lot of things happening, and it's so important that we maintain momentum with Formula Woman, because it really is it's potentially a global brand, a global opportunity.
I would say, could that potentially see then being there, like there'd be a European-based Formula Woman, and there's a winner for that one, and then there's potentially an American one for that. Is it that kind of direction you're thinking, or is it not too clear yet?
There could be. Potentially, there could be a Formula Woman in all the countries that are interested. And the big appetite at the moment is coming from India.
Yeah.
And that's where we actually conducted an assessment in India, and there was 26 women that came along to that assessment, and there's actually 4 finalists coming over in March to compete against the other 16 nations.
And so it'd be great to see them get a bit more attention there, because I mean it's such a big country with such a large population, and I mean F1 tried it a bit there in the past, didn't quite work out as well, but it'd be great to try and crack back in again because it's such a big market.
And also it's about the market is about getting women into sport as well, the same as it is in the UK.
Definitely. So then, what do you think has been the biggest challenge in running the competition so far? Has it been the global scale of it this time around?
The biggest challenge has been getting commercial partners involved, because commercial partners, unlike 2-3 years ago and prior to that, are battening down the hatches and hanging on to all their hard-earned cash. They don't want to spend anything. The marketing departments are just so cautious about spending money at this point in time. So we're fortunate to be able to have the whole thing funded anyway. But it would be great to find a title sponsor. And although we're talking to, shall we say, 3 potentials at the moment, I think they want to see how it goes.
Yeah.
They want to basically, not just how we go, but how the economy grows or shrinks or whatever it's going to do. It's all about people waiting. And if people wait too long, then they will simply collapse, in my opinion.
And so, the other problem is no one wants to be the first one to make the jump, so the others will follow.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, everybody that our marketing team have spoken to have basically said, wow, this is a really, really good idea. We'd like to be involved next year when you do it, or we'd like to see how it goes, or we'd like to see what the opportunities are in a particular country, or it's just sponsor finding. These poor girls, they're trying to find money themselves to back themselves, just to sort of cover their travel costs, to cover their accommodation, cover their race gear and that kind of thing. I mean, the finalists get it all paid for anyway, but those that want to do some extra practicing, I've basically said, go and find yourself a personal sponsor. Don't pay for it out of your own pocket unless you really have to or want to, and get your sponsor, because once you've found a sponsor, if you can keep that sponsor, then that's great. They'll stay with you while ever you're in motorsport.
Definitely, and again, it's a good lesson for them to learn as well, and to find out which one of the people, or which one of the women rather, are more serious than the other ones, and who is really committed to it.
I would say 50% of all the women are passionate about doing it. The other 50% are just doing it for fun. But then once they get to an assessment day and once they get involved, as we all know, motorsport's very addictive.
Yeah, and so there's a point of no return.
Yeah, they want to do more. It's it's fun, and it's not just for the men anymore. The women want to.
I'm going to say, going off that then, would you be interested in working with W Series at some point in the future to try and bridge the gap, see if there's any opportunities for finalists through there, or some of the ones that maybe don't make it to the finals, and try and get in that way?
Yeah, I mean, a number of people have tried to W Series, and there's no comparison whatsoever, because W Series is about women that have already been racing. It's also about single-seaters. But I see that what we potentially can do is we can it's a bit like the Red Bull Junior Academy and the Red Bull system. We can find women that can ideally switch to single-seaters once they've developed their skills with us within Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
But I've tried to steer away from the single-seater route, simply because when we had the caterhams, we found that lots of women found them claustrophobic, and he didn't work as well as the Tintox or the GT cars. So that's the route we decided to go with this competition.
And arguably, you could say there's more opportunities with those type of cars than there are with single seaters anyway, just because of with single seaters it's very limited anyway and tricky to get into in the first place. Whereas, not saying it's easy the other way, but it's slightly easier. I think is probably the best way to put that.
And it's not as expensive even in the short term. Just to do junior single seaters now is crazy expensive. It's like, this is why in Formula One that the majority of the drivers have got there through their family wealth or family fortune, unfortunately. Well, what I will say is that even when you get to the level of Formula 3, when you're actually spotted and given the opportunity to go to the next level and go to Formula 2 and Formula 1, you've probably spent nearly £1 million just to get into Formula 3. With the karting, with the sport, Formula 4,
and even then, there's no guarantee that you'll get up to the other two steps of the ladder.
No, and you can't spend one. Look at Lewis. Lewis spent, was it 3 years in Formula Renault or was it Formula 3? I can't remember. But,
I think Formula Renault at the time. I think. I might be wrong, but that's again quite a lot of money, and that's. I mean, it could have easily been any other driver who didn't make it that far, and again, you don't know what kind of potential you're missing out on.
No. The last driver to actually make it from a junior category straight into Formula 1 was Kimi Räikkönen, I think.
It's quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of fun non-motorsport related questions to finish off, because that's just what I generally do. If you had an animal or plant renamed in your honour, what would you want to carry your name?
You're asking me what? It's an either-or question, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, just any animal or plant that you'd like to be renamed after you, essentially.
An animal, I think.
Yeah, and any specific one in mind, or just leave it to whoever?
Hedgehog.
Fair enough. Why not?
Only because my youngest daughter, used to look after hedgehogs, and I could never understand what use a hedgehog had, and I think that, I don't know. You do ask some difficult questions, don't you?
I was going to say it's always these ones that catch people out. It's never the motorsport ones.
Okay, what's the next one?
I'm going to say last one then is, if you were given any one luxury item but you couldn't sell it, what would you choose?
One luxury item but I couldn't sell it?
Yeah.
Couldn't sell it, or I wouldn't sell it?
Couldn't.
A desert island.
Yeah, no, I can back that choice, definitely. Wouldn't be nice to have one of those.
Yeah, and then I can just go away and forget about this world, but still enjoy the good things in life. Yeah.
I was going to say, end it on a chipper note. Don't be too down about it.
Oh no. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. I want to thank you for speaking with me, and good luck with the rest of the competition and everything else Formula One wise moving forwards in the future.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Thanks again to Graeme for coming onto the Kerbs with me, and I want to wish all of the Formula Women finalists the best of luck for the remainder of the competition. Join me again soon, where I will be chatting to another famous face from the world of motorsport. And in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and check out the other videos on the On the Kerbs YouTube channel. Away from YouTube, you can follow me over on Instagram at t.albers.daily.drivetribe. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next week for the next episode.